submitting the chat if they were admitted or if they're interested students. Thank you all for chiming in. Okay, great. So we'll get started. As Natalia said, we're learning today about Elevate at Illinois Tech. A bit about myself. My name is Carly. I have a dual role, so I also work in the Office of Financial Aid. So at the end, if you have questions about financial aid after all the Elevate questions, I'd be happy to chime in. But feel free to type questions in the chat, and Natalia will be monitoring the chat, and then chime in with the questions that you all are submitting. So thank you so much. And I very much appreciate you all getting on Zoom when I'm sure that you're on Zoom a lot of the day. So I hope this is really worthwhile. We'll probably end early, so plenty of time for questions. Okay, a brief agenda today. What is Elevate? How do we find Elevate experiences? And then the fun part, we'll get to hear from our student speakers, and we'll end with some questions. Okay, so first, what is Elevate? So Elevate's a pretty simple concept, and it is, sorry, my husband's knocking on the door because I think he's locked out right now. Natalia, would you mind fielding this following question? Actually, let me show this first. So we're looking at how you'll elevate your learning at Illinois Tech with outside the classroom experiences. So we have internships, study abroad, research, competitions, and other, professional skill development. So my question to you, I'd love to see what you put in the chat, is which of these or multiple of these experiences are you most interested in participating in your time at Illinois Tech? And I'll give you like 30 seconds to type in the chat, and then it just gives me an idea of what the interest is.
Awesome, thank you, Carly. Yes, so feel free to type that in the chat, and then as I start seeing them on the screen, I'll read some aloud, and we can go ahead and get a jump start and get a feel for what everyone's interested in. Okay, so I see some internships and study abroad opportunities. Awesome. Professional skill development. Okay. Study abroad. More internships. Yes, that's something we'll definitely talk about today. Okay. Professional skills. That's a good one. That's a good one. Awesome. So I think we've hit the majority of them for right now. And now we will go ahead and pass the mic back.
Perfect, thank you. Always a fun journey, but I did want to ask that at that time, so that worked out really well. So all these outside the classroom experiences, really, as we talked about, they're elevating your learning. I'm sure many of you are in outside the classroom experiences in high school or at the current college you're at, and I don't know if you agree with me, but a lot of value is in those opportunities. And so all those types of opportunities at Illinois Tech outside the classroom, we just refer to as Elevate experiences. It's sort of the umbrella of outside the classroom learning. And so Elevate in particular is sort of like an aggregator. We find high quality experiences at Illinois Tech and outside of Illinois Tech for you to engage with and participate in that will really enhance your time at our university. So it's called Elevate. It's a pretty simple concept. It's like the umbrella for the outside the classroom learning. And we'll get into like why it's beneficial in a bit. So you may be wondering, okay, well, I'm interested in study abroad. Many of you are. Internships, research, some of you said all of them. So how do we find these experiences? So the traditional way at other universities or elsewhere would be Google, right? You'd search all over the internet for study abroad, research, internships, different academic competitions. And once you get there, then you have to sort through the opportunities. Are these high quality? Are these legitimate experiences? We want to take that guesswork and that legwork out of it. So we've put everything on our website, iit.edu/elevate. Not everything, but more like a highlight feature for you to find these high quality opportunities. So you're not searching through hundreds of different opportunities. So we're going to take a moment to actually just look at the website. Feel free, you can go on your own browser too to explore at your own pace. But I kind of liken this website to a menu. So you have the menu with everything offered at the restaurant, but the Elevate website is sort of like the list of daily specials. Like what is has an upcoming deadline? What are some study abroad programs with great scholarships? We'll talk more about internships too, but these are internships that reached out to Illinois Tech because they want our students to apply. Other ways to develop your skills. Again, it's not just experiences at Illinois Tech, it's ways you can develop outside of the university as well. So I'm just, again, feel free to look through at your own time, but this is our way of taking some of the guesswork and legwork out of finding these experiences and just really making sure you find great opportunities. You can also find these experiences, you know, they don't have to be listed on the Elevate website, but they're still Elevate. Like if you find an internship outside of this website, it's still, you know, it's still elevating your experience, but I'll go into detail on a few more reasons that it's really beneficial to find these opportunities through Elevate. So before we go into like hearing more about Elevate experiences from our students, what questions do we have about about Elevate in general, if we do have any? Oh, got it. Okay. Well, I'm sure that you'll have questions as you hear more about our student experiences. I'm just confirming if Christopher is here because he's our first experience, not Christopher Brown. Oh, does the Elevate program cost anything? Christopher Brown submitted this question. Thank you for that. So I think it varies, like looking at these 5 examples that falls under what Elevate is. Internships typically don't cost anything. Hopefully you're actually earning money in internships. Study abroad often, well, almost always has a program fee, but and when we get to Aubrey's part, where she's going to share a little bit more about study abroad, all your Illinois Tech scholarships will often apply to study abroad exchange programs. So hopefully it's not much more expensive than a standard semester. And if you do research at Illinois Tech and earn credit, it might cost you something. And similarly, if you're taking a professional skill development course, it might. Competitions usually don't, maybe an entrance fee if there is one. But again, it's not like these Elevate experiences are like special programs created by Elevate. It's just all the programs out there. Elevate has condensed them or aggregated them to make it easy for you to find.
And then there was 2 additional questions. So 1, do you have to apply for it? And then 2, what kinds of research does Elevate offer?
Ooh, that's an exciting question. Let me go back to this. So Elevate, you know, it really varies on what experiences you're doing and if you have to apply to it. Thinking of internships, you know, it would be similar to how you would apply to any internship: resume, cover letter, interview, so likely. Study abroad, also there's an application, but it's not, if you're applying to an Illinois Tech study abroad or study away program, you know, provided there's space in the program, it's not, many students are admitted to that. Research, yeah, there's also an application for research, but again, there's like it's more like a course you're taking, so there's seats. And competitions, professional skill development courses, usually you can just sign up for those. So again, Elevate's like super broad. So that's why, you know, it really is dependent on the type of, the way you're elevating your time at Illinois Tech. And sorry, Natalia, what was the second one? It was, do you need to apply, and oh, what type of research is there?
Correct. And then we have another one that just came in after that.
Okay, cool. So the research projects really vary, and I'm currently in the process of posting all of the research projects for this summer. So maybe what I'll do actually is at the end of this, I'll show you all like a sneak peek of the list of summer research projects, because they vary from working with drones to creating a COVID-19 test, and I'm going to talk about that in detail in this, to, you know, working on like wastewater treatment. It's just like, it really varies, and any major that you're interested in or any like field you want to explore, seems like we have a research project related to that. So it definitely varies. Is Elevate something like co-op? Someone asked. So co-op would fall under Elevate, but again, like co-op would also be like another spoke on this wheel. It would just fall under ways you're elevating your time at Illinois Tech. Let's see. Does every opportunity is limited to certain programs? Oh, so yeah, undergraduate and graduate students are eligible to apply to many of these different types of things. Obviously, internships, undergrad or grad, you can apply. Study abroad, I'm not as familiar. Maybe Aubrey, you could speak to that when you're presenting. If grad students, if there's study abroad for grad students, I believe there's some options, at least with if not in Illinois Tech, outside Illinois Tech, and undergrad and grad is for research as well. So yeah, pretty much all experiences. If you are grad or undergrad and you're interested in doing something outside the classroom, there's an opportunity. Okay, so we have time to hear about the awesome student experiences. We're going to move into our student speakers. As Natalia said, we have Aubrey, who will be speaking about study abroad. And Christopher, I didn't see you initially, but I'm not sure if you're here. Let me see if Christopher is here. It's midterms time, so.
Chris is here.
I am here.
Woo, hey Chris. Yes, okay, great. Awesome. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about internships, and then I'll turn it over to Chris to talk specifically about his internship experience. So again, career services and internships falls under the Elevate umbrella. And we have an office called the Career Services Office, and they work with students who are just starting out with career exploration all the way to preparing for their interview for their job when they graduate. So all those resources are offered to both undergraduate and graduate students. And we have a lot of resources either on the website, but we also have a lot of events that students can go to, such as resume support events, cover letter support events, interview practice. Further, we host events on campus, like we have career fairs, and they come to campus and students sign up ahead of time, and you can perfect your resume and cover letter and then attend the career fair. We had a really successful remote one about 2 weeks ago, but in the future, most of them will be in person. So career services is a really great office. Even if you're like, my freshman year, I don't know what I want to do with my career, it's a great place to start exploring. So definitely an awesome support system for students. So an example of Elevate, why it's beneficial to help to find these internships through our website, is many employers will actually come to our career services office and say, we really want Illinois Tech students to apply, whether it's internships or full-time positions. So while students can find internships elsewhere, it's still an Elevate experience because it's outside the classroom. That when you're applying to one that's posted on our website, those employers are looking for Illinois Tech students. So I kind of liken it to if you're applying to a job or internship and maybe someone at that company, you feel better thinking like, oh yeah, my resume at least is going to get a really good read through because they know that I'm a high quality applicant. It's kind of similar. That's how Elevate, the Elevate program sort of gets internships in front of students, and these are internships that the employers really want our students. And here's 3 examples of internships that will be offered this summer who approached us and said, hey, we really want students to apply from Illinois Tech. Okay, great. I'm going to mute and turn it over to Chris, who's going to share specifically about his internship this past summer. Take it away, Chris.
All right, thank you, Carly, for that. All right, and so my name is Christopher Converse. I am a sophomore majoring in chemical engineering, and over the summer, I managed to do an internship under the Chicago Urban League through this Elevate, or like in partnership with Elevate. And so the Chicago Urban League, they focus on helping the African American community through programs that help them find jobs, secure affordable housing, advance their education, and they help entrepreneurs grow their business. My internship allowed me to work with the Chicago Urban League Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So they were in the process of launching a program called Woke Spaces, which would have provided entrepreneurs with a workspace in bars and restaurants during non-peak hours. However, during that time period, they were trying to launch it. COVID was hitting, and so they had to basically scrap it for a while. And so when I came on to the team, I was working with the director of the entrepreneurship, or the Center for Entrepreneurship, and I was put on a team with another person, and we were assigned to help the league come up with a solution to how they could implement their co-working program going forward throughout this pandemic. If you would, Carly, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. All right, so the first thing my partner and I did was we gathered information on how our customers and venue owners were feeling about the situation. My partner and I created a survey and sent it through a mailing list to the entrepreneurs who had previously shown interest in using the program before COVID. And then we also reached out to the venue owners and interviewed them personally and examined their businesses to see if it would be possible to implement a safe co-working space. Excuse me. And after the research was done, we looked at all the we looked over all the data that we collected, and we created a presentation based on our findings and put it all together in a presentation that detailed to the Chicago Urban League how they could safely go forward with this with the co-working program. Next slide, please, Carly. Thank you. So throughout the excuse me, throughout the Elevate internship program, I got the opportunity to work with the director for the Chicago Urban League Center for Entrepreneurship, as I was saying. And I got to collaborate with a few other small businesses that my fellow classmates were working with to tackle to tackle problems that other local businesses faced during this time. The internship program was made possible by the new partnership between Illinois Tech and the Chicago Urban Leagues and the Coleman Foundation. And so me and 10 other students were split into 5 teams of 2, and were assigned businesses that helped, sorry, my bad. We were assigned into teams in like every Friday, my bad, I'm sorry. We were assigned into teams that would help us, or we would sign into teams, and every Friday we'd come into Zoom calls, and we'd discuss and seek guidance with each other, and we talk about certain problems that we were facing during our internships and how we were working together to come up with better solutions to them. And so I thought it was really cool. And also during my internship, I got to take part in calls that were happening for the Chicago Urban League Center of Entrepreneurship. And so I got to see the director actually leading and being a leader and delegating tasks to the team. And I thought that was really cool because I never really thought that I'd be able to get an up close and personal look at that in a business setting, and I was able to take away a lot of good things for that. And so some advice that I'd give to students that are new to internships, or just undergraduate students, and more so just people in general, honestly. One thing that really helped me for this internship was being able to communicate effectively. My partner and I, we were having to contact each other like every day, talking about what we're working on, and who we've reached out to so far in regards to like the venue owners. And I know that had I not been a really decent communicator, it would have been hard to really meet to get stuff done and to make sure that the work that we were doing was adequate enough to help the Chicago Urban League out for this. And also, I'd say networking is a really critical skill that if you don't feel like you're good at, you need to work on, because I wouldn't have gotten this internship without networking. The person that got me in contact with this program, or with this internship, and more specifically, she was Lisa Montgomery, and I met her at a job fair actually. And so I would never, if I had not have gone to that job fair and just introduced myself to Lisa and got her contact, I wouldn't have had this internship. And so like I'm really stressing that like networking, you need to just get really good at that, because it can land you some really good stuff. But aside from that, I think that's all I had for today. Is there any questions?
Chris, would you mind also sharing your your major and your year in school?
Oh, I thought I did at the very beginning, but I'll do it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, again, I am a sophomore and my major is chemical engineering.
Awesome. Sorry, I just wanted to drive that point home that while Christopher is studying chemical engineering, as you can see, his internship isn't directly related to chemical engineering, but so many of the skills that he talked about he gained um, will really benefit him in really any career. But that's a great example of how Elevate isn't, you don't need to do Elevate experiences that are exactly your major, exactly what you want to do when you graduate, right? Like elevate is the term elevates. You're elevating your experience. You're exploring different things. So I think Chris's experience is a great example of stepping outside of your academic realm and learning more. Thanks, Chris. If you have any questions for him, you can type in the chat and we'll have time at the end as well. So thank you for sharing about your Chicago Urban League internship. Yay. Okay, great. So now we'll learn about another facet of Elevate, which is study away. And I'll talk a little bit about study away, and then we'll hear from Aubrey and hear about her study away experience. So you may notice that study away is the term that's used here that we're transitioning to, not study abroad. And that's because our office is, the study away office is not only offering experiences to people internationally, but also working to plan experiences within the United States. So maybe students who are already international and want to go somewhere else in the US, that's a great way to explore other places in the United States. Or maybe I know that oftentimes people have traveled to DC to study architecture. Like maybe there's a place you've always wanted to go in the country, and this is a great way to do it. So not just international experiences. But I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but every single major can study abroad. And oftentimes programs, through exchange programs, students pay tuition to Illinois Tech as if you were attending Illinois Tech, but you're attending an abroad institution. So any scholarships that you earned, a Heald scholarship, a STEM scholarship, anything else, those would apply to an exchange program. So I know some students are like, worried about the costs, but oftentimes the cost is very similar to cost a normal semester in Chicago. So a great place to start your search is studyabroad.iit.edu. You can peruse some of the programs, and if you know you want to study abroad in your time here, which I know many of you said in the chat, definitely plan in your first year to meet with a study abroad office so that you can plan out your courses, because you just want to make sure that the courses you still need to take maybe your junior year are offered abroad. And maybe if they're not, you study abroad your sophomore year or the summer between your freshman and sophomore year. So planning is definitely the key, because it is an incredibly invaluable experience if this is something you want to do. And so with that, we will get to hear from Aubrey about her abroad experience.
Hello, I'm Aubrey. I'm currently a fourth year architecture student. I actually went on my study abroad experience after my second year for the summer. So I went on a faculty-led trip, which it's usually around like 4 weeks in the summer, and it's led by like 1 or 2 professors, and it's more travel-based. So the one I went on was called House Development of the Modern Dwelling. So on our trip, we visited Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, and the UK. So basically what's a little different about faculty-led, like summer study abroads, rather than typical semester-based study abroads, is that you're going to have less classroom-based instruction, especially if it's like an architecture program. So most of our learning came from traveling and visiting different buildings and houses and meeting with different people. And our professor had been doing the program for like a number of years, so he had a lot of knowledge about the cities we were going to. So basically we spent a lot of our time in Berlin, and we took like smaller side trips to other cities, and every day we would visit different places to learn about the history of the housing and the architecture, and we would sketch a few times a day. And like each week we would use a different medium. So first week was pencil, second week was pen, the third week was pastel, and the fourth week was watercolor. And at the end of the 4 weeks, we presented like a final 5, like these bigger drawings that we made, to kind of encapsulate our trip, as well as we created a small model of a building that we also did a small research project on. You can go to the next slide, please. So basically, I learned like a lot from this experience. It taught me to get more out of my comfort zone and just expand how I think about my education. This was one of the first times I was able to travel and learn at the same time. So it was pretty interesting and fast-paced experience. I definitely gained a lot of personal responsibility and a lot of real world skills, just because I was more out on my own. It was a trip with like 11 of my classmates, but still we had a lot of freedom and we had to make a lot of our own choices. And we had learned to navigate new countries rather quickly, and different cultures and languages as well. It definitely helped me to expand my worldview a little bit more and to think more about the prospective options for my career path, that I could go into a lot of different areas of architecture. Actually, on the trip, we met a number of different firms and visited them and got to talk with professionals. And we also got to meet with some other students from a few different universities, one that was in England and one that was in Germany. So it was interesting to talk with other students who are taking the same types of classes as me, but like from completely different parts of the world. Can you go to the next slide, please? I have a few tips I would say to share if you're interested in studying abroad. I would say it was definitely one of the most impactful opportunities I've got to have, and I'm so glad I got to go on it pretty early in my time at college. There was a few challenges to be faced and a lot of learning experiences. So I think number one tip is you need to just not be complacent, because it's a short trip. Even if it's a semester, it's still pretty short, or even a year. It's only one term of your life. So like just try to get in as much as you can, because you don't know when you would have those kind of learning opportunities again. I'd say definitely if you're trying to go on a longer trip, or I wish I would have known a little bit more about like the local values and languages and things where I was. Not that it was a super hard time like navigating, but it would have been interesting to be more immersed into like being with the people around. And also along with that, it's great to just talk to the locals and to try to understand their life experiences and how that can just help you think about your own worldview as well. And I'd say definitely it's really important to plan ahead and think about your budget and accommodations and itinerary, just so you have everything ironed out and there's no like surprises spur of the moment. But the study abroad office definitely helps a lot with that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Aubrey. What questions do you all have for Aubrey? I have one. Aubrey, is your drawing on slide 1 anywhere?
Oh yeah, it's like yeah, that row that your cursor's on. No, like going up.
Oh, this
No, the one next to it.
this
No,
one.
that row.
Wait, this one.
Yes, yes, that row.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are the different mediums you did each week, you said?
Yeah, it had like pen and pastel and watercolor,
So
and
cool.
ink. Yeah, I mean pencil. Yes.
Hmm. You mentioned that it sort of helped you think more about your career path. Were there any like specific takeaways, after doing this experience, you decided you want to go this way in architecture or this other way?
I'd say definitely, I was just able to see a lot differently, like how buildings are approached in Europe compared to the US, and they have much more of a focus on like sustainability, and as well as it just made me thinking more about like conscious design of buildings and maybe like reusing, adaptive reuse, stuff like that.
Hmm. Awesome. Thank you. Do we have any architecture students in the house?
You asked before about if graduate students could study
Oh,
abroad.
yeah.
I just wanted to say, yeah, they definitely have some options. I know it's not as common, probably just because it's a shorter amount of time, but I do know there have been a handful in the past few years that have studied abroad.
Thank you for providing that clarity. Um, oh, cool. We got an architecture major. Alexa, thanks. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions for Aubrey? Again, we'll have some time for Chris and Aubrey questions at the end, but anything coming to mind right now about study abroad, study away? Nothing right now? Okay, cool. So I want to talk about research, which is another, part of Elevate, right? Because it's the overall umbrella and research falls under it. And two students have spoke about this research before that I'm going to share about. So I'm sort of going to summarize what they did, even though I probably won't do it justice. But really quickly, overall, undergraduate research, most of the time, if you're doing it at Illinois Tech, you can earn credit. And we actually have some research projects for this summer that, like I said, will be listed on the website soon. And some of those are actually offered to incoming undergraduate students. So if you are just like rearing to go to do research, you can check out our Elevate website. Like I said, soon they'll be posted and apply for research. And you could even start that this summer. Some is in person, some is remote. But a couple benefits, right? You're earning credit. A lot of students have noted that one of the most valuable things was building relationship with faculty members, because you could be working in groups as small as 2 students and 1 faculty member. And you're really learning about that faculty member, their area of research and study. And it's honestly quite beneficial because when it comes time for maybe you're applying to graduate school or you need a letter of recommendation, you've really built that relationship with a faculty member who can help you out in that way and attest to your high quality work ethic. So a lot of students have found that to be beneficial. Also, there's definitely a correlation between students doing undergraduate research and their potential earnings after graduating. So that's another benefit. And the last bullet point, helpful to determine future path. That is totally true. Like in undergrad, I did some biomedical research, whereas my major was not biomedical. And you know what? I learned I didn't want to do biomedical research, and that's okay. But it really does, you don't have to commit a full semester class to a topic. You can do a short research project to better explore what your interests are. And that's what Elevate is all about, enhancing your time outside the classroom. So one of the questions before was what types of research projects there are, and here's 3 examples. I'm going to go into one. You can see they range from COVID-19 to harvesting vertical farms to levitating cars. So really run the gamut of different research projects. And I just wanted to share about this one that was research was performed this past summer, and they actually created a device for detecting COVID-19. And I'm not going to go into like the whole science of it because the students are not here to speak to it, but basically it's similar to a breathalyzer where people are breathing in, and then the results would be outputted to someone's phone very, very rapidly. And they're able to detect it because the sensor binds to the viral spike protein in the breathalyzer, and that's how they're detecting if the COVID-19 is present. So They actually worked on that this summer, and now it's an iPro project, and they're actually looking to patent it. So some of this research, it gets you credit, but it can also get you a lot more things. So I thought that was a really impressive research project to round out our group of impressive projects and experiences. So like I said, we'd have plenty of times for questions. You can ask me or Chris or Aubrey, or if you have an undergrad admissions question, I know Natalia is available to answer too. But yeah, what questions do we have about Elevate? You can type them in the chat if that's easiest. Let me go back to the overview page. Yeah, Christopher, for sure you can ask the question. Might be easier. Anyone can chime in too.
Okay, so hi. This question is for Christopher. From one Christopher to another. So like, are the internships like major based, or are they just like a big pool of them and like you like choose which one you want?
They are not major based at all, but I will say whenever I was selected to do this internship, when applying for it, we were what company that I was given, because this was a whole program that I was a part of over the summer for this internship. So again, I told you that there was multiple students that were part of this. I got chosen to work with the Chicago Urban League because they felt that that company best suited my my like experiences and expertise at the times. But not all Elevate experiences are judged based on what major you're going for. It's not determined by that. So you could have they're not major specific is what I'm trying to say. Hopefully that answered your question.
It did. Thank you so much. Last question. This question is actually for Aubrey. So the study abroad programs, like the actual like programs like themselves, are they like affiliated with like any like organization? And like for example, I heard you saying like something about like semester long and like year long, like I wouldn't say trips, but yeah. And so yeah, what would that like look like? And like not like a schedule format, but like would you like actually like take classes over there is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so there's a few different types of study abroad trips. There's the one I went on, which is faculty led, which usually you don't take a physical class, but you might kind of if it's like maybe a different major other than architecture. Then there's exchange programs where we have other universities that you pay the same tuition that you would here, and you go there and you take classes just like a normal student there for the whole semester. And then there's like provider programs where it's like a company you're applying to, and they have some kind of agreement with like another school or another program. And there's partner ones, which is similar to exchange, but you're paying like the other school's tuition. I don't know if that was a little confusing, but pretty much all of them except for the faculty-led summer programs, you're actually going to go to school and take classes. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for your question, Christopher, too. Or, you know, you're both Christopher, number one in my heart. But building on what Aubrey said, yeah, like Christopher, if you studied abroad and it wasn't with Illinois Tech faculty going with the students like Aubrey's was, you would say like, I studied abroad at, you know, Inkai Business School in Costa Rica, like that, you'd be at a different university. And that's what you would say, like, I studied at this university for this semester or this whole year. Basically what Aubrey was saying. And for your internship question, I think this was, I'm happy this was brought up because, so like I said, the Elevate page highlights internships. Like here's 3 new internship postings, but we also have a platform called Handshake, and you need to log in, but this is where we list tons of internships, like hundreds. That's why the Elevate site's a good place to start, because it's like a smaller place to look and see what's featured. But when you're all looking for internships, Handshake is the place you're going to want to start, because there's job postings all the time, both internships and outside and full-time employment too.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. I see another question for contact information. So Carly, would you mind typing your contact information? Aubrey, Chris, if you feel comfortable sharing your email, that would be helpful as well.
Definitely, thank you. I'll put mine for Elevate. And then if you have financial aid questions, you can email my personal email. That's more where I do some of my financial aid stuff. But yeah, any other questions? Okay, well, if you have any general questions about outside the classroom learning, the email address I put, elevate@iit.edu, is probably the best place to start, even if you're like, Carly, I don't know who to speak with about study abroad. Like, I'm kind of the middle person, and I can connect you to whoever and whatever resources you need. And that's another benefit of Elevate, so students aren't, wandering aimlessly. There's one place to start their search, and then we can assist you with that. So unless there are any other questions, and I'll stick around a little bit longer if you just want to ask us some questions, not with the whole group. But other than that, thank you all so much for joining us today to hear about Elevate. Oh, we got a question though. Where would you live if you do study away? So Aubrey, do you want to share where you live, but then also where other students may reside if they're abroad?
Yeah, when I was studying, we stayed in hostels mostly, so like shared living kind of situation. Usually students will stay in like the dormitory of the school they're staying at, or maybe like an apartment nearby. Or I think you can stay with a host family, but that's not as common anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely lots of options. And that's another thing to consider when you're looking at programs, like, oh, do I want to stay with a host family? Do I want to stay in the dorm rooms on that university's campus? It's like the world is your oyster, and there's lots of different choices. All right, thanks everyone so much for joining. Like I said, I'll stick around a little bit longer if you have questions, but thank you so much. Bye.
I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.